Hello, my name is Hannah Hemberger, and this is my presentation for EDL 850, Module 4, Religion in Schools. The purpose of this presentation is to review up-to-date actions regarding religion in schools, and then looking in conjunction with our current school board policies regarding religion and making sure that our policies are up to date with the current findings. And we're going to do this by reviewing the Pew Report for religion in schools, the U.S. Department of Education's report about religion and religious expression in schools, and then President Trump's stance on religion in schools. The Pew Report, Religion in Public Schools, we're going to start off with just a little bit of background and kind of how we came about to where we are now with religion in schools. And with Cantel versus Connecticut and Everson versus the Board of Education of Ewing Township back in the 1940s, Congress established, or it was established, the courts established that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. About 20 years later, in Engel versus Vitale, the Supreme Court did rule that prayer in public schools is banned as it violates the Establishment Clause. And then a little bit later, it also ruled that organized Bible reading is prohibited within public schools. And then quite a bit later in 2000, the year 2000, the Supreme Court then did rule that school-sponsored prayers at public football games are banned as well. The report's stance on religion in schools talked about creation and evolution and how this is an ongoing debate. And there's many court cases, but that, schools will have been wanting to get rid of evolution in the teaching of it, and then get rid of the teaching of creationism as well, teaching them side by side. But it's an ongoing debate as to whether which one's going to happen or what. But with Kitzmiller versus Dover Area School District in 2005, they had said that this policy violated the Establishment Clause because the intelligent design, what they were wanting to implement in schools, is based off of a religious theory. Therefore, it violated that clause. So then moving into holiday programs, there's a lot of talk about whether it should be called a Christmas program, a winter program, your spring program, Thanksgiving, all those things that related with holidays that do in turn play with religion, is that no student should be forced to sing songs that offend their religion. And if they are singing songs, like at a Christmas program, winter program that is secular or religious, the student has the option to opt out and not receive a penalty for that. The rights of students within the Pew Report is that students can engage in activity and discuss their religion during school with their peers, teachers, whoever they wish. They can pray before or after meals or gather on school grounds for prayer before or after school. They may not force or harass other students to engage in their religious practices during schools. And then schools then need to neither favor nor disfavor students or groups on the basis of their religious identities. Um, this slide talks about the rights of parents within the Pew Report. So if a parent wants to enroll a child in a private school versus a public school, they have the right to do that. If their child does not want to stand to salute the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance, they do have the right to do that, to opt out of that. There are also opt-out programs that parents can refer to. So like choosing an alternate form of reading. So if a novel or a literature piece is offensive to a student because of their religion or their beliefs, an alternate form can be used that covers the same academic standards. School districts have been accommodating for transgender students, and the courts have upheld their findings. So there's been many court cases where parents are going against that and saying that students should use the bathroom with which the gender that they were born with, not what they identify themselves with. But the courts have upheld that transgender students can use the bathroom to which they identify with. The rights of teachers and administrators. So when teachers or admin are off duty, they are free to exercise their freedom of religion and do what they wish, whether that's go to church or Bible study, or whatever they choose. Then schools also have the authority to regulate the religious expression of staff members during instructional hours and around students. So if the school feels a teacher or admin is doing something that is offensive to students or they're not comfortable with being around them because of what they are saying or displaying, then they do have the right, the authority to regulate that and to stop whatever it is that is going on. So moving into the U.S. Departments of Education standpoint, it starts with the Elementary and Secondary Act, and this act is provides funds to school for like Title I services for low socioeconomic status students as English language learners, but it's an act or it's funds that the school has to apply for. And if they do receive this, then they do also have to certify in writing to the SCA at the state level that it has no policy that prevents or otherwise denies participation in constitutionally protected prayer in public schools as detailed in the updated guidance. So the Department of Education's standpoint on prayer is that students can engage in prayer during school in non-instructional time, individually or within groups. So this is, and then teachers can also join them as long as they aren't precedent as an official. So, and then like if the students are meeting in front of the school, in front of the flagpole and want to say a prayer, a teacher can go do that, but they're just there as an adult, like a community member. Um, but if students want to pray before lunch and a teacher wants to join them, and they can do that as long as they are not, precedent as the teacher or the official. Teachers themselves can engage in prayer or participate in Bible groups before or after school, on their lunch break, or when they aren't with students. If a school were to designate a moment of silence, this is completely optional for students and teachers, and they shouldn't be harassed or propositioned to choose one way or the other. It is completely up to them. Students can be excused from class to fulfill a religious obligation so as not to distract other students or burden them with their religious obligation. Any assignments that a student would submit that may or may not have religious content within it should be graded by the academic standard and not discriminated for the content that is within it. Schools cannot choose speakers that favor or disfavor religious perspectives. And then schools may not have prayer at graduation. Speakers that were chosen based off of standards may have in their speech what they wish. So those speakers that were chosen would be like the valedictorian, the salutatorian. They may put in their speech what they wish as they earned that speech based off of select standards. The USDE stance for religious expression states that students can hand out religious literature to their peers in the same means as they would hand out other literature. Schools cannot explicitly teach religion instruction, but they can teach about religion related to their content. So I think of this as within history, and if there was a religious group that come about, you can teach about that and what they did, but just not teach specifically that religion and what they consist of. Schools cannot single out religious attire per the dress code unless it violates it. And then religious excusals should be treated the same as parents' requests for excusal from school for other non-religious needs. So if a parent were to take a student out for a doctor's appointment, this would fall into the same category of a parent taking a student out to um, say they had to go to church for a holy day or something like that. It would fall under the same category there. This is President Trump's stance on school prayer. So this information came from an article that was put out in January of 2020, so it's very recent. And it states that as he's working on his 2020 campaign, one of his um, points is that he's trying to update guidance to schools about prayer and students' rights. He said the government should never stand between the people and God, and that we should empower students and teachers to exercise their rights. So this article just talked about how he believes that students and teachers should be able to stand up for what they believe in and exercise their rights and their beliefs within schools, and the government should not have any policies that stand against that. So that is one of his big points as he's going into the election this year. The action that we should be taking um, for our school district is that we need to review our school board policies and make sure that they are current and up to date with the um, findings that I just went over, and making sure we are respecting teachers and students' rights. Um, and the next one is ensuring that teachers and students' rights are being protected within those policies. Here are my references for this presentation. Thank you.